I stared at my phone, mascara streaking down my brown cheeks as I typed the message I'd been mentally drafting since I walked in on Trey and that bottle blonde from his gym. 1 month. We were 1 month away from saying I do, and he couldn't keep it in his pants for 30 more days. You're a lying, cheating piece of. My fingers flew across the screen, wine-fueled and furious. 3 years of couples therapy, wedding deposits, and compromising my career moves to fit his 5-year plan. All of it, torched because Trey couldn't resist someone who called him daddy at SoulCycle. We're done. Keep the ring, keep her, keep your pathetic excuses. I'm not your safety net anymore. Don't call. Don't text. Don't exist in my world. Leia. Send it, my best friend Aisha urged from my kitchen island, pouring us both another glass of Cabernet. Burn that bridge, girl. Torch it. Napalm it from orbit. I didn't hesitate. Hit send. Then immediately hurled my phone onto the couch like it was contaminated. There. Finished. I'm done with men. I grabbed my wine glass, downing half of it. I'm going full eat, pray, love. Except skip the pray part and double down on the wine. That's the spirit, Aisha laughed, then suddenly froze mid-sip. Maya. What? Did you check the number before you sent that? My stomach dropped to my knees. What do you mean, did I check? My phone buzzed from the couch. Once. 3 times in rapid succession. Aisha retrieved it, her eyes widening as she read the screen. Oh shit. What? I snatched the phone from her hands. The number was wrong. 1 digit off. 1 single catastrophic digit. And someone had already responded. Wrong number, Bellissima. But I have to say, any man who drives a woman like you to send a message like that is either stupid, blind, or already dead. If it's the first 2, I can fix that. If it's the third, my condolences. I stared at the words, my wine-drunk brain struggling to process. Then another message appeared. Also, you deserve better than a man who makes you this angry. Come to Celestia on 5th. Top floor. I'll send a car. Let me show you what it looks like when a man actually values what he has. This man is either a serial killer or, I started. Or exactly what you need right now, Aisha interrupted, reading over my shoulder. Girl, he called you Bellissima and offered to fix your ex. That's romance novel energy right there. That's unhinged energy. Same thing. She refilled my glass. Look, you're never going to meet this random stranger. What's the harm in texting back? Consider it therapy. Against every ounce of common sense I possessed, I typed. I don't even know you. Why would I come to your place? The response was immediate. Don't. But in 10 minutes, you'll know I'm someone who keeps his word. Check your door. What does that? A knock echoed through my apartment. Aisha and I exchanged panicked looks. I crept to the door, peered through the peephole, and saw a man in a crisp black suit holding a garment bag and a distinctive blue box from Tiffany's. I'm not opening that door, I whispered. Another text. His name is Luca. He's holding a dress and a peace offering. You don't have to come tonight. But you should know that your ex just posted on Instagram. Him and another woman at your venue tasting cake. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe and comment where you're watching from. Now let's get started. My blood turned to ice. I grabbed my phone, pulled up Instagram with shaking hands, and there it was. Posted 17 minutes ago. Trey and that woman feeding each other our wedding cake flavors at our venue with the caption, "When you know, you know." Something inside me cracked clean in half. I yanked open the door. The man, Luca, didn't flinch, just offered a polite nod. Ms. Brooks. Mr. Vitali thought you might want to make a statement tonight. He held out the garment bag. The car is downstairs. No pressure. No expectations. But he thought you deserved to feel like the queen you are after the day you've had. I should have said no. Should have closed the door, blocked the number, and processed my breakup like a normal person with a pint of ice cream and a Spotify breakup playlist. Instead, I took the garment bag. Aisha, how fast can you do my makeup? 30 minutes later, I was standing in front of my mirror in a black dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent, feeling like someone had reached into my chest and replaced my broken heart with titanium. My phone buzzed. Car is waiting. And Maya, when you walk in tonight, I want you to remember something. A woman who types a message like that with that much fire, she's not meant to be anyone's backup plan. She's meant to be worshipped. Me show you how. I looked at Aisha. She looked at me. And then we both looked at the wine bottle we'd already emptied. If I end up dead in a canal, I said, grabbing my purse, you have my permission to say, I told you so at my funeral. If you end up married to a mysterious rich man who sends dresses and jewelry as apologies, she countered, you have to name your first daughter after me. Deal. I walked out of my apartment and into the back of a black Mercedes that smelled like leather and expensive cologne. The driver nodded at me in the rearview mirror but said nothing as we pulled away from my building and headed toward Fifth Avenue. My phone buzzed one last time. I'm in the penthouse. When you get to the top floor, the doors will be open. Walk in like you own the place. Because by the end of tonight, Bellissima, you will. I should have been terrified. Should have texted Aisha my location and a safety word. Should have done literally anything except what I was doing. But as the elevator climbed to the top floor of Celestia, the most exclusive building in the city, all I could think was, Trehu. The elevator doors opened directly into a penthouse that looked like it had been ripped from Architectural Digest. Floor-to-ceiling windows, marble floors, art that was definitely original and definitely worth more than my condo. And standing by the window, silhouetted against the glittering skyline, was a man who made my breath catch in my throat. Broad-shouldered. A perfectly tailored black suit that did absolutely nothing to hide the ink that covered his hands and crawled up his neck. Dark hair slicked back. A jaw that could cut glass. And eyes. God, his eyes. Dark, intense, and fixed entirely on me. Maya Brooks. His voice was low, accented. The kind of voice that made every word sound like a promise or a threat. You're even more stunning than I imagined. He didn't move toward me. Just stood there, completely still, like he was giving me the option to run. I should have taken it. Instead, I walked forward, my heels clicking on the marble, and stopped 3 feet away from him. You sent me a dress and jewelry for a wrong number text. Either you're insane or you do this regularly. A slow smile spread across his face. Neither. I just recognize a woman who's been settling when I see one. He tilted his head. Tell me, Bellissima, does your ex have any idea what he just lost? He's eating cake with his downgrade right now, so I'm going to say no. Then he's even more stupid than I thought. Marco, because that's who this had to be, finally moved, walking to a bar cart and pouring 2 glasses of something amber. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to have a drink. You're going to tell me what you want. Revenge, closure, a distraction, all 3. And then I'm going to give it to you. Just like that. Just like that. Why? He handed me a glass, his fingers brushing mine. The touch sent electricity straight up my arm. Because I'm a man who appreciates rare things, he said softly. And a woman who texts that kind of fire to a wrong number. Who walks into a stranger's penthouse in a dress I sent her. Who looks at me right now like she's deciding whether to kiss me or kill me? He raised his glass. That's the rarest thing of all. I should have walked away. Should have finished my drink and called an Uber and gone back to my normal, safe, predictable life. But when Marco Vitali looked at me like I was the only person in the room, in the city, in the entire world, I stayed. And that's where everything changed. The whiskey burned going down. But it was nothing compared to the heat of Marco's gaze tracking my every movement. I walked to the windows, needing space to think, to breathe, to figure out what the hell I was doing in a stranger's penthouse wearing a dress that cost more than my car payment. You're wondering if I'm dangerous, Marco said behind me. His voice closer than I expected. I didn't turn around. Are you? Yes. The honesty shocked me into facing him. He stood 3 feet away, hands in his pockets, completely relaxed. Like he hadn't just admitted to being a threat. But not to you, he continued. Never to you, Maya. You don't know me. I know you stayed in a relationship that dimmed your light for 3 years. I know you've built a career where you manage everyone else's image but your own. I know you're standing in my home right now because some part of you is tired of playing it safe. He took a step closer. Am I wrong? He wasn't. God help me, he wasn't. What do you want from me? I asked, hating how my voice wavered. Nothing you're not willing to give. Marco moved to refresh his drink, giving me space again. Here's what I'm offering, Bellissima. One night. Let me show you what it feels like to be the priority instead of the consolation prize. No strings. No expectations. Just power. Power. The kind that comes from walking into a room and knowing no one can touch you. From making decisions without apologizing. From being seen. He turned back to me. Your ex made you small. I want to show you what it's like to take up space again. I should have asked how. Should have demanded details, references, a background check. Instead, I heard myself say, what does that look like? The smile that crossed Marco's face was absolutely wicked. Put your phone away. For the rest of tonight, the only person who gets your attention is you. He set down his glass. We're going somewhere. Where? Does it matter? Didn't. That was the terrifying part. I pulled out my phone to text Aisha, but Marco's hand covered mine. Not grabbing, not forcing. Just there. I've already sent your friend our location, my full name, and the number for my head of security. His thumb brushed across my knuckles. You're safe with me, Maya. That's a promise. I looked up into those dark eyes and saw something I hadn't seen in years. Not lust. Not manipulation. Just absolute certainty. Okay, I whispered. Okay. Show me. Marco's entire demeanor shifted. The careful distance evaporated. He offered me his arm like we were in some old-world romance, and when I took it, I felt the coiled strength beneath the expensive fabric. One rule, he said as we walked toward the elevator. Tonight you don't shrink yourself. You don't apologize. You don't second-guess. You walk into every room like you own it. And if I can't... He looked down at me, and the intensity in his expression made my breath catch. Then I'll own it for you until you remember how. The elevator doors closed, and I realized I wasn't just leaving my apartment tonight. I was leaving behind every version of myself that had been enough for Trey but never enough for me. Whatever Marco Vitali was offering, whatever danger lurked beneath that tailored suit and those tattooed hands, I was done playing it safe. The elevator descended, and Maya Brooks began her transformation into someone Trey would never recognize. Someone even I didn't recognize yet. But as Marco's hand settled on the small of my back, guiding me toward whatever came next, I realized something. I couldn't wait to meet her. I woke up to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows I didn't recognize, wrapped in Egyptian cotton sheets that probably cost more than my entire bedroom set. For one blissful second I forgot about Trey, the wedding, everything. Then reality crashed back in. I sat up too fast, head spinning from last night's whiskey and whatever the hell I'd just done. Marco had taken me to 3 different venues: a private art gallery, an exclusive restaurant where they knew his name, a rooftop bar where people literally parted when he walked through. He hadn't touched me beyond that hand on my back. Hadn't pushed for anything. Just watched me with those dark eyes while I remembered what it felt like to be the center of someone's universe. I needed to leave. Before this got complicated, I found my dress from last night folded on a chair, my heels placed neatly beside it. No sign of Marco. But I could slip out, go home, pretend this was just a wild story to tell Aisha over brunch. I made it as far as the elevator before his voice stopped me. Running away, Bellissima? Marco stood in the doorway of what looked like a home office, wearing black slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. The tattoos covering his forearms were even more intricate in daylight. He looked unfairly good for someone who'd been up as late as I had. I have work, I said, finger hovering over the elevator button. Real life. This was... Thank you for last night. Really. But I should go. I'll drive you. That's not necessary. Maya. He walked toward me, and I hated how my body responded to just my name in his mouth. Let me drive you. It's the least I can do after keeping you out until 3 in the morning. 20 minutes later, I was in the back of his Mercedes, watching the city slide past while Marco sat beside me, scrolling through his phone with the casual authority of someone who owned half of it. Your phone, he said suddenly. You threw it last night. Do you have a backup? I'll stop by the store after work. He was already making a call. Rapid Italian that sounded like a command, not a request. Then he hung up and looked at me. Handled. New phone, same number, delivered to your office by noon. Marco, you can't just. I can. And I did. He leaned back, studying me. Consider it damages. Damages. For 3 years wasted on a man who didn't deserve you. For a wedding you'll never have. For settling. His expression darkened. Your ex owes you more than a phone, Bellissima. But we'll start there. The car pulled up to my building. I should have thanked him and left. Instead I asked, what else am I owed? Marco's smile was slow and dangerous. Everything. And I intend to collect on his behalf. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and something shifted in his expression. Something cold and calculating that reminded me I had no idea who this man really was. I have a meeting, he said. But Maya, check your email. I took the liberty of fixing another problem. What problem? Your ex's Instagram post. It's gone. Along with his account. He said it so casually, like he'd just ordered coffee. He won't be posting about anyone else's wedding venue. The car door opened. His driver stood waiting. I stared at Marco, somewhere between thrilled and terrified. Who are you? His answer was a smile that promised everything and explained nothing. Someone who keeps his promises. I'll see you tonight, Bellissima. I walked into my office in last night's dress, carrying my heels, with Marco Vitali's number saved in my phone and absolutely no idea what I'd just gotten myself into. The new phone arrived at 11:47 a.m., exactly as Marco promised. Top of the line, already set up with all my contacts and apps. I was staring at it, trying to figure out how he'd managed that, when Aisha appeared in my doorway. Girl, you look like you got hit by a very expensive truck. Spill. I filled her in on everything. The art gallery, the restaurant, the casual way Marco had erased Trey from the internet like he was deleting a spam email. He disappeared Trey's entire Instagram. Aisha's eyes went wide. Maya, that's not normal rich people behavior. That's... I know. Do you? Because you're sitting here with a phone that probably costs more than our monthly salaries combined. And you're smiling. God help me, I was. The smile died when I looked up and saw Trey storming through the office toward my desk. He looked rough. 2-day stubble, wrinkled polo. The kind of desperate energy that came from a man watching his life unravel. People's heads turned as he passed, and I felt my stomach drop. Maya, we need to talk. Now. I stood, keeping my desk between us. There's nothing to talk about. We're done, Trey. Done. You send me one text and disappear. 3 years, and I don't even get a conversation. He grabbed the edge of my desk. And what the hell did you do to my Instagram? My accounts. Everything's gone, Maya. My email, my socials, even my goddamn linked. I didn't do anything. Bullshit. This is you being petty because you saw me with Mr. Brooks. The voice came from behind Trey, low and accented and absolutely glacial. Marco stood in my office doorway wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Trey's car, flanked by 2 men in matching dark suits who looked like they ate nails for breakfast. Trey turned, and I watched the color drain from his face. Who the hell are you? Marco didn't answer. He just walked forward with the kind of calm that made every survival instinct I had start screaming. He stopped inches from Trey, close enough that Trey had to tilt his head back to meet his eyes. Then Marco leaned in and whispered something I couldn't hear. Whatever he said, it took less than 5 seconds. But I watched Trey's face go from angry to confused to absolutely terrified. His hands started shaking. Sweat beaded on his forehead. I didn't, Trey stammered. Marco straightened, smoothing his tie with tattooed hands. I believe Ms. Brooks asked you to leave. Multiple times. I'd hate to have to ask again. Trey practically ran for the exit. Literally knocked over a trash can in his rush to get out. The entire office watched in stunned silence. Marco turned to me, and just like that, the terrifying stranger disappeared. His expression softened. Apologies for the interruption, Bellissima. You shouldn't have to deal with that at work. What did you say to him? Just reminded him that some women are protected. And the consequences of forgetting that. He glanced at my new phone on my desk. Lunch. There's a place on Madison with your name on a reservation. I should have been horrified. Should have called security, HR, the police. But all I could think was that Trey had looked at Marco and seen death. And Marco had done it all without raising his voice or lifting a finger. Who are you? Asked again. This time he answered. Someone you should probably stay away from. But something tells me you won't. He was right. I grabbed my purse and followed him out. That night, I did what I should have done before getting into a stranger's car. I googled Marco Vitali. The results were sparse. Too sparse. A few society page photos from charity galas. A brief mention in a business journal about import-export ventures. One archived news article from 5 years ago about a warehouse fire that killed 3 men, with his name buried in the 14th paragraph as an associate of the deceased. But it was the Reddit threads that made my blood run cold. Don't say that name out loud in this city unless you want problems. The Vitali family owns half the waterfront. The other half knows better than to compete. My cousin tried to open a restaurant in their territory without asking permission. He's in Phoenix now. Voluntarily. I switched to Facebook. Searched in local groups. Found more whispers. Carefully worded warnings. People who started typing responses and then deleted them. One comment simply said, "If you're asking, you already know too much." I closed my laptop, hands shaking. Marco Vitali wasn't just dangerous. He was the danger. The kind of man whose name made other men leave the room. And I'd been having lunch with him. Letting him drive me places. Wearing dresses he bought. My phone buzzed. A text from the man himself. Dinner tomorrow. There's something I want to show you. I stared at the message for 10 minutes before typing back. We need to talk. Tonight. Place. His response was immediate. I'll send the car. An hour later I was back in that penthouse, but this time I wasn't charmed by the view or the expensive art. I was looking at everything differently. The security. The careful placement of furniture that never left his back to a door. The way even his bookshelves looked like they'd been arranged by someone who understood strategy. Marco was waiting by the windows again, but he didn't smile when he saw my face. You Googled me, he said. You're a crime boss. Done. That's not better, Marco. No, it's not. He poured himself a drink but didn't offer me one. What did you find? Enough. People are terrified of you. Of your family. There are entire threads dedicated to avoiding you. My voice cracked. What did you say to Trey? What would you have done if he hadn't left? Marco was quiet for a long moment. Then he set down his glass and walked toward me. I forced myself not to back away. I told him that if he came near you again, I would destroy everything he loved before I let him disappear. His eyes were dark, honest. And yes, Maya, I meant it. I would have. Why? Because he hurt you. Because he wasted 3 years of your life. Because he had something precious and treated it like it was disposable. Marco stopped inches away. I'm a lot of things, Bellissima. Most of them terrible. But I don't lie. Not to you. You should have told me. Would you have gotten in the car if I had? No. Exactly. He reached out like he wanted to touch my face, then stopped himself. I'm the Don of the Vitali family. I've done things that would make you leave this room and never look back. But I'm going to make you one promise, and it's the only one that matters. You are the one thing in this city I will never harm. Not ever. I should have left. Should have run back to my safe, boring life where the most dangerous thing was a passive-aggressive email from accounting. Instead, I asked, what if I want to leave? Right now. Then you leave. The elevator is behind you. I won't stop you. Won't follow you. Won't even call. His jaw clenched. But I'll spend every night after wondering if you're safe. If your ex came back. If someone else tried to hurt you. That's not fair. Nothing about this is fair, Maya. But it's the truth. I looked at this man, this dangerous, impossible man, and realized I had a choice to make. Walk away from the fire. Or step into it completely. I didn't leave that night. And 3 days later I was standing in front of my mirror wearing a blood-red gown that hugged every curve, preparing to walk into a room full of people who would either fear Marco Vitali or pretend they didn't. You don't have to do this, Marco said from my doorway. He looked devastating in a black tuxedo, hair perfectly styled, tattoos hidden except for the ones that crept just above his collar. Say the word and we stay in. But I'd made my choice. I'd chosen the fire. I'm ready. The gala was at the Metropolitan Museum, the kind of event where champagne cost more than most people's rent and everyone smiled with too many teeth. Marco's hand settled on the small of my back as we entered, and I felt the shift immediately. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Heads turned. A woman in diamonds actually paled and excused herself to the restroom. They're staring, I whispered. They're realizing I've brought someone who matters. Marco guided me through the crowd with the ease of a man who owned every room he entered. Let them stare, Bellissima. Let them see exactly who stands beside me. A senator approached first, all practiced smiles and careful words. Then a real estate mogul. Tech CEO. Each one paid their respects to Marco with the kind of deference that came from understanding exactly who he was and what he could do. But when they looked at me, I saw something else. Curiosity. Passion. The beginning of respect. You're glowing, Marco murmured as we moved toward the ballroom. This is what I wanted you to see. This is what happens when you stop shrinking yourself. The orchestra started playing something slow and sultry. Couples drifted onto the dance floor. Marco turned to me, hand extended. Dance with me. It wasn't a question. His hand found my waist. Mine settled on his shoulder. And then we were moving and I forgot about every other person in that room. I can feel them watching us, I said, trying to maintain some distance. Marco pulled me closer, eliminating the space I'd carefully preserved. Good. Let them watch. Let them see that you're mine. I'm not. Aren't you? His hand slid lower on my back, possessive, claiming. You chose this, Maya. You chose me. Even knowing what I am. What I've done. My breath hitched. Marco. Say it. His voice dropped, rough and demanding. Tell me you're mine. Every rational thought in my head screamed to pull away. To maintain some control. Some distance. But his body against mine, the heat in his eyes, the way he looked at me like I was the only thing in the universe that mattered. I'm yours, I whispered. Something primal flashed in his expression. His hand tightened on my waist. Again. I'm yours, Marco. The music swelled. He spun me, dipped me, and when I came back up, his lips were inches from mine. The entire ballroom could see us. The senator. The moguls. Every person who'd whispered about the Vitali family in hushed, terrified tones. I'm going to kiss you now, Marco said. And everyone here is going to know exactly who you belong to. Promise. His smile was absolutely wicked. Bellissima, I never break my promises. Then his mouth was on mine, hot and demanding and claiming, and I melted into him completely. Let him devour me in front of 500 people who would spread this story across the entire city by morning. When he finally pulled back, I was breathless and dizzy and completely gone. Take me home, I managed. Marco's eyes went dark with promise. Which home, Maya? Yours or mine? I pressed closer, feeling every hard line of him. Ours. His smile could have set the entire museum on fire. We made it 4 days. 4 perfect days of waking up in Marco's arms, of learning the taste of his coffee and the sound of his laugh, of existing in a bubble where the outside world couldn't touch us. The bubble shattered on a Tuesday afternoon. Marco was driving me back from lunch, his hand on my thigh while I scrolled through work emails, when he suddenly jerked the wheel hard to the left. The Mercedes swerved into the opposite lane. Horns blared. "Marco, what?" The explosion cut off my words. The car behind us, a black SUV that had been following us for 3 blocks, erupted into a fireball. The shockwave hit us like a physical wall. Marco's Mercedes fishtailed. My head snapped forward then back. Glass from surrounding buildings rained down onto the street. Marco was already moving. He threw the car into park, grabbed my face with both hands. "Are you hurt?" "Maya, look at me. Are you hurt?" "I'm fine, what just happened?" His jaw was granite. "Stay in the car. Lock the doors. Don't get out for anyone except me." "Marco." But he was already outside, phone to his ear, speaking rapid Italian. Through the window I watched him transform. Gone was the man who'd fed me strawberries that morning. This was the Don. Cold. Calculating. Absolutely lethal. 2 more black SUVs appeared within seconds. Men in suits poured out, forming a perimeter around our car. Marco spoke to them in clipped commands. Then his eyes found mine through the windshield. The look on his face made my blood run cold. He got back in the car, started the engine, and drove without speaking. Not to the penthouse. Somewhere else. A building I didn't recognize with underground parking and more armed men. "Marco, talk to me. That bomb was meant for me." His voice was ice. "The Russians. They're making a move on my territory, and they don't care about collateral damage. The Russians. Enemies. Rivals. Doesn't matter what you call them." He finally looked at me, and I saw something I'd never seen before in his eyes. Fear. "You could have died, Maya. 'Cause of me. Because you were in my car wearing my ring." "What ring?" He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a diamond that could have paid off my student loans twice over. "I was going to ask you tonight. At dinner. Make this official." He snapped the box shut. "But I can't. I won't put you in danger just because I'm selfish enough to want you." Understanding crashed over me. "You're pushing me away. I'm saving your life." "No." I grabbed his face, forced him to look at me. "You don't get to decide this alone. You don't get to protect me by leaving me. Maya, you don't understand what's coming. This is war. Real war. People will die. And if they know you matter to me, if they know you're the one thing in this world I can't lose, then I'm already a target, Marco. Whether I'm with you or not." I pressed my forehead to his. "You told me I was yours. You claimed me in front of half the city. You think leaving me alone makes me safer? Or does it just make me an easier target?" His hands fisted in my hair. "If something happened to you, then you burn their world down. Together. Because I'm not leaving you to fight this alone." I pulled back far enough to meet his eyes. "I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me. You're insane." "No. I'm in love with you." The words came out steady, certain. "And love doesn't run when things get dangerous. Says, it fights." Marco stared at me like I'd just handed him salvation and damnation in the same breath. Then he kissed me hard enough to bruise. Desperate enough to hurt. "You're mine," he breathed against my lips. "Always. Now tell me, who do we destroy first?" The answer came 2 days later in the worst possible way. Marco had tripled security. I couldn't go to my office without 2 armed guards. Couldn't grab coffee without someone checking the shop first. It should have felt suffocating. Instead, it felt like being wrapped in armor. Until the armor found its weak point. I was at my apartment. Just for an hour Marco had insisted to grab some work files. His men were stationed outside. Everything was supposed to be safe. Controlled. Then someone knocked on my door with a voice I recognized. "Maya, please." I know Marco's guys are out there, but I'm begging you. 5 minutes. I need to apologize. I need you to know how sorry I am. Wait. Every instinct screamed not to open that door. But he sounded broken, desperate. And some small part of me, the part that had loved him for 3 years, wanted closure. I cracked the door open with the chain still on. You have 2 minutes. Talk. I'm sorry. For everything. The cheating, the venue, all of it. His eyes were red-rimmed, his hands shaking. But Maya, you have to help me. Ill money. Bad money. To bad people. And they said if I don't pay. How much? 200,000. I started to close the door. Call your parents. Call your bank. Call literally anyone but me. That's when I saw them. 2 men in the stairwell behind Trey. Moving fast. I tried to slam the door, but Trey grabbed it. I'm sorry, he whispered, and I realized with horrible clarity that he wasn't apologizing for the past. He was apologizing for what came next. The door burst inward. Someone grabbed me from behind. I screamed, fought, bit down hard on someone's hand. Then something sharp pricked my neck and the world went sideways. The last thing I heard was Trey saying, "She's the girlfriend. That clears my debt, right?" I woke up in darkness. My head throbbed. My hands were zip-tied behind me. The smell of rust and old concrete told me I was in a warehouse, somewhere near the water, judging by the sound. "She's awake." A voice with a thick Russian accent. "Call Vitaly. Tell him we have his queen." I forced my eyes open. 3 men stood around me. The one on the phone smiled when he saw me looking. "Your boyfriend has something that belongs to us. Territory. Money. Respect." He crouched down to my level. "You're going to help us get it back. Or you're going to help us hurt him. Either way, you're useful." "He'll kill you," I said through split lips. "All of you. Perhaps. But first, he has to find you." Somewhere across the city, my phone rang on Marco's nightstand. 13 missed calls turned to 14. Then his phone buzzed with a message that contained just 2 things. A photo of me tied to a chair and an address. I found out later what happened next. How Marco saw that photo and everything human in him simply ceased to exist. How he called in every favor, every soldier, every connection he'd built over 20 years. How the Vitaly family mobilized like an army going to war. Because that's exactly what it was. Marco made 3 phone calls. The first was to his underboss. "Burn everything Russian in this city. I want their clubs, their fronts, their safe houses reduced to ash by morning." The second was to someone I never learned the name of. The ex-boyfriend. Trey Brooks. "Find him. Keep him alive. I want him to see what happens when you betray me." The third call was to someone who simply answered, "How many men?" Marco's response was 2 words. "All of them." I lost track of time in that warehouse. Hours blurred together. The Russians asked questions I wouldn't answer. Made threats I didn't respond to. One of them backhanded me hard enough that I tasted blood. "Vitaly isn't coming," the leader said, lighting a cigarette. "He's smart. He knows trading territory for a woman is weakness. You're already dead, sweetheart. You just don't know it yet." Then the lights went out. The emergency backup kicked in, bathing everything in red. Gunfire erupted from somewhere outside. Shouting in Italian and Russian. The men around me scattered, grabbing weapons, yelling orders. The steel door exploded inward. Marco walked through the smoke like an avenging angel dressed in black. Blood spattered his white shirt. A gun hung loose in his right hand. Behind him, I counted at least 15 men, all armed, all wearing the cold expression of soldiers who'd already decided everyone in this room was dead. "Maya!" His eyes found mine across the warehouse, and relief flashed across his face for exactly 1 second before the ice returned. "Close your eyes, Bellissima." "Marco." "Close. Eyes." I squeezed them shut. Heard the Russians screaming. Heard gunshots, controlled, methodical, each one a period at the end of a sentence. Heard bodies hitting concrete. Heard Marco's voice, steady and merciless, speaking Russian in a tone that promised suffering. Then silence. Keep them closed. Marco's hands were on my zip ties, cutting them free. Just a little longer. I've got you. He lifted me like I weighed nothing, cradling me against his chest. I buried my face in his neck, breathing him in, cologne and gunpowder and fury. You can look now, he murmured. Open my eyes. The warehouse was a massacre. Bodies everywhere. Marco's men were already moving through, efficient and emotionless. And there, zip-tied to a support beam with blood running down his face, was Trey. Marco stopped in front of him. Set me down carefully but kept one arm locked around my waist. Look at her, Marco commanded. Trey raised his head, eyes wide with terror. Look at what you sold. Look at what you thought was worth $200,000. I'm sorry, Trey sobbed. I'm sorry, I didn't know they would. You sold her to men who would have raped her, tortured her, killed her. For money. Marco's voice was conversational, almost pleasant. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to live. You're going to wake up every single day knowing you're only breathing because I allow it. And every time you see my name, hear my voice, see a black Mercedes, you're going to remember this moment. When you watched me carry her out of hell. When you realized exactly what she's worth. Marco turned to me, his expression softening. Can you walk, Bellissima? I want you to carry me. Like you said. Like a queen. His smile was devastating. Always. He lifted me again, and as we walked past Trey, I met my ex's eyes one final time. Saw the understanding there. The regret. The knowledge that he'd traded away something priceless and would spend the rest of his life knowing it. I chose well, I whispered to Marco. No, amore mio. I did. Outside dawn was breaking. The city was waking up to news of fires across the waterfront. Of a turf war that ended in a single night. Of the Russian operation that simply ceased to exist. And in the middle of it all, Marco Vitali carried his queen to his car, leaving behind the bodies of everyone who'd dared to touch her. War was hell. But victory tasted like freedom. 3 days after the warehouse, Marco found me on the penthouse terrace watching the sun set over a city that whispered his name with equal parts reverence and terror. He'd barely left my side since the rescue. Changed my bandages himself. Held me through nightmares. Killed a man who'd looked at me wrong in the hospital. I have something for you. He set an envelope on the table beside me. Open it. Inside was a plane ticket. First class to Paris. Open-ended return. And a bank card with my name on it. What is this? Your exit. Marco wouldn't meet my eyes. $5 million. A new identity if you want it. A life anywhere in the world where my name doesn't follow you. His voice cracked. Where men don't put bombs in cars or tie you to chairs or make you see things that will haunt you forever. I stared at the ticket. At this man who'd burned down half the city to save me. Now offering to let me walk away. You think I want to leave? I think you deserve the choice. Real one. Not one made in the heat of the moment or because you're traumatized or because you think you owe me. I ripped the ticket in half. Then quarters. Then confetti. Marco finally looked at me, shock written across his features. I don't want Paris. I don't want $5 million. I don't want a life where I wake up safe and boring and without you. I stood, walked to him, placed my hands on his chest over his racing heart. I want this. The danger. The darkness. The man who would raise the world to ash for me. I want to be your queen, Marco Vitali. Not your regret. You don't know what you're asking for. I'm asking to be your wife. Your partner. The woman who stands beside you when empires rise and fall. I pulled out the ring box he'd shown me days ago. I'd stolen it from his jacket pocket. So ask me. Properly this time. Marco took the box with shaking hands. Dropped to one knee on the terrace like a king bowing to his goddess. When he looked up at me, tears streaked his face. Maya Brooks. You are my salvation and my damnation. My peace in a life of war. My light in an ocean of darkness. He opened the box. Marry me. Rule beside me. Let me spend every day of my life proving I'm worthy of the choice you're making. Yes. I didn't hesitate. Yes, 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring onto my finger, then stood and kissed me like I was air and he was drowning. When we finally broke apart, his forehead rested against mine. We'll marry in Sicily, where my family started, where every Vitali Don has been crowned. His thumb traced my bottom lip. I'll make you a queen the old way, with vows that can't be broken and protection that never ends. When? Tomorrow. Next week. Tonight. Whenever you're ready to become mine in every way that matters. I've been yours since I sent that text to the wrong number. Marco laughed, the sound breaking through years of carefully constructed walls. Best mistake either of us ever made. 2 weeks later, I stood in a centuries-old chapel in Sicily, wearing a dress the color of cream and holding a bouquet of blood-red roses. Marco waited at the altar in a black suit that made him look like sin incarnate. Armed guards lined the pews. His family watched with expressions ranging from approval to awe. When the priest asked if I took this man, this dangerous, impossible, perfect man, I didn't hesitate. I do. Marco slid a second ring onto my finger beside the engagement diamond. This one was old, carved with symbols I'd learned to read later. The mark of the Vitali family. The crown of queens who'd come before me. You may kiss your bride. He did. And somewhere in the distance, church bells rang across Sicily, announcing that Marco Vitali had found his queen. I'd sent a breakup text to the wrong number, and found my kingdom instead. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as interesting and even more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.